Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me in your class or home or screen or however else you may be tuning in for this year's Rising Leader Summit. I'm grateful and honored to be asked to kick off such a cool program today because in many ways, I still consider myself rising as well. I grew up in Northwest Arkansas and I moved back a few years ago to begin working with the Tyson Family Foundation, and it's really changed my perception of what it means to be a leader. So often, being a leader is associated with forging new paths and crossing boundaries and taking steps into the unknown in order to educate others. We get so focused on the destination or the goal, we forget that the experience getting us there is where true leadership comes from. Ruth Bader Ginsburg once said, "Fight for the things you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others." This year has been a roller coaster for everyone, especially students like you who are standing on the doorstep of your next chapter in life, a feeling both daunting and exhilarating and definitely overwhelming at times. But as you look into the future, I encourage you to focus on the why rather than the how. Don't spend all your energy on what's next. Embrace what's happening now and around you. Listen to your classmates, your friends, your teachers, and neighbors. Spend time on yourself, developing your values and ideas, what you care about. Be open to changing them as you learn new things. Be open to growing. As a rising leader, the only place you have to go is up. And if you don't build yourself a solid foundation to build up from, where are you really going in the first place? To me, being a leader isn't about directing, it's about listening. It's about give and take and trial and error. It's about making mistakes and creating an environment where others can do so without fear of being judged. Being a leader means enabling the success of others through compassion and hard work and teamwork. You can turn your passions into progress and not only become a leader for yourself, but encourage those who look to you to do the same. With those words in mind, I hope you guys enjoy today and are able to leave here inspired. I really look forward to meeting you all one day, and I hope you have a great rest of the school year and good luck and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you so much.
Okay, my name is Rebecca Kammerig. I'm the post-secondary advisor at Bentonville West High School, and I am here with some very special guests today. And here to introduce them is Tara Nutt. She is one of our wonderful 7th grade English teachers at Fulbright Junior High School and the sponsor of All Girls Considered, which you will hear more about in just a minute. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Tara, and I am really excited to hear this.
Thank you, Ms. Kammerig. It's good to see you virtually. So my name is Tara Nutt, and like she said, I'm a teacher at Fulbright, and I've got some of my friends here with me today. And I'm going to introduce our panel first, and then I'll kind of tell you what we're going to be talking about. So first of all, we have Priya Taleparath, who is a freshman at Harvard University this fall. She's a graduate of Bentonville West in the spring. We're really excited to have her here. She owes a sliver of her success to her 7th grade English teacher. We also have Anna Dean, who's a senior this year at Bentonville West. And the two of them co-founded an organization called Loud Women, which they'll tell you a little bit more about here in a little bit. And then our other two participants are members of All Girls Considered. We've got Ruby Freeman, who's an 8th grader at Grimsley Junior High School this year. And then Lauren Lafayette, who is a freshman at Bentonville West. So welcome, girls. I'm glad to have you here. So kind of our purpose today is to talk about voices. So we're going to be talking about the power of girls and women's voices and the need for girls and women's voices in all spaces. And then kind of maybe what it looks like to sort of start to find your own voice if you're not quite sure how to do that. So that's kind of our purpose for today. And our format, I told the girls I've got a list of topics and questions, but we don't really have a set plan. We'll just get to what we get to, and kind of the value of using our voices and becoming confident in our voices means that we follow a conversation where it needs to go. And so we aren't going to get too stressed out about that. If they have something to share, maybe kind of like motion for us if you want to make sure you get to share something. That way we can make sure you get the floor. Sound good? Everybody on board? All right. So let's kind of start for our audience, and let's define the idea of your voice. What does that term kind of mean to you all?
Personally, when I think of someone's voice, I think of, well, first, literally, how you speak. And then second, your just general opinions and just generally what you think about other people and other situations and the ability to share said opinions.
Anybody want to kind of add on to that, or do we feel like Lauren did a good job of defining for us?
Yeah, my definition that I had is super similar. I said your thoughts, opinions, values, beliefs, and those things are very heavily influenced by what you experience in your life. And so I think that is why finding your voice and using your voice is so important and regarded in lots of spaces. People say find your voice, speak up about what you believe in, because each person has their unique voice and it's a unique perspective for any discussion or situation.
And to add on to that, when you said people are told and people share, find your voice and do all of this, it's kind of a bit rocky and a bit muddy of how to find your voice in this metaphorical situation that we've created in society, and how to share what you truly believe without being worried about getting bullied or offending someone with your opinion.
Awesome. I agree wholeheartedly, girls. So what kind of, for you personally, has been the process of discovering your voice? What has that looked like for you?
For me, so personally, I've always been a pretty outspoken person, and I've always shared my ideas about things. But as you grow older and you meet people as Priya and they were talking about different perspectives, you meet people that have very different perspectives from you. And so a lot of times those ideas and using my voice to talk about my ideas, there's a lot of clash, and that clash usually makes me lower my voice, especially being a woman. And a lot of times the woman is the person to first lower their voice before anyone else. And so my journey of kind of finding my voice has been not lowering my voice and persisting and keeping the argument going. As Priya and I, our organization, we've done debate since 8th grade. And so doing debate, I have had a lot of the same idea of having a clash of arguments, but then the man talking over me, or make me feel as my voice isn't as important as theirs. And that goes for a lot of different social norms and in institutions. So just keeping my voice going and not lowering my voice has really been my journey.
I love that. I made a note about that myself.
I also feel like we're really affected by our situations, like Anna said, about how when someone, whether it be male or not, just in general, a person has an opinion that you feel is incorrect or unjust. Personally, that's kind of the time where I particularly bloom, is when I feel as though there is something happening that I completely disagree with, and there should be a change.
What do you think, Ruby? What's it been like to find your voice over the last couple of years?
I think something I struggle with the most, and I still do, is I'm way too scared of what other people are gonna think whenever I share my voice, and I don't want to offend anybody because I'm kind of scared to do that. Also, I skip the grades, so I'm always with people that are older than me, no matter what I do, like in sports teams or like at school and things like that. So, not just like being a female, but also being different than everyone, I feel like it's kind of harder because they're telling me I've been here longer, I know more about the curriculum. It's a little hard.
I completely agree. And it reminded me of something where I've definitely been in an argument. Well, rather, I've definitely seen arguments where a woman is speaking her opinion and making a point, and then a man has a differing opinion. And personally, in some scenarios, I've kind of felt a bit of fear for the woman, for the person there that's really having a rough time physically. Like, that's one thing that your comment, Ruby, really reminded me of is the fear that a lot of women have of being physically hurt and abused simply because of their opinion by males.
So a couple of you mentioned some challenges that you've encountered through the process of discovering your voice. I know that Lauren mentioned that when she sees an injustice or feels like something is unjust, that is a time that really kind of helps her to dig in and find her voice. What are some things that have helped the others of you when you've felt challenged or had those moments, like Anna said, where you feel compelled to be the first one to lower your voice? What helps you to kind of dig in and speak up?
I think something that's always helped me is just understanding that it's a collective experience. So I'm not alone in thinking that I am the only one experiencing this. Oh, it must be a fluke. Like, no, there's not actually something going on. But then talking with my peers, my other female teammates, like it really makes it like, no, this is a thing that happens. And it definitely strengthens my own belief in what I originally said. And then I feel more comfortable being like, no, okay, this is what I thought, and I'm going to stick with that, and just like pushing that forward, I think.
I think something is like also thinking that other people might be too shy or too scared to say it. So if you're not going to say it, no one else is, because everyone's also scared.
Yes, I agree with that. Like, the like not speaking up is kind of in a way pretending that there isn't a problem or that no one's hurting, and that only hurts more people and like only perpetrates the problem in the first place if you don't speak up. And so I think it's really important that one of my favorite quotes is to speak up even if your voice shakes. And so even if you're really nervous, that like you need to speak up for the other women, for the other girls in the room, or the other like girls that this person could like impact. And so like we've been talking about sexism a lot, or just any type of like bigotry. I think it's important to know that like you speaking up against that person will, even if it doesn't affect them as like as impactfully as you want it to, the idea that you're speaking up to them, eventually that will like help the person understand or maybe change their mindset, or maybe they didn't even realize that it was a problem in the first place, or like that they were unconsciously being sexist or whatever, insert word here. But yeah, I definitely agree with that like pretending that it isn't a problem is only going to hurt more people. So yeah.
I like that a theme of several of your responses had to do with connection. Priya mentioned the collective, and Anna mentioned like building those connections with people, whether it's the person who is doing the injustice or the person who is on the other end of that. Like either way, when we insert our voice into conversations, we build connections with people. And I mean, I think most of us are pretty aware that it's through building connections with people that we see change happen in lots of different spaces. I mean, that's why All Girls Considered exists, is to build connections among girls and build connections from those girls to women in the community, because we believe that that's where the power lies. So I really like that that's coming out in your answers as well. What Would some of you be willing to share about an experience where you've gotten to use your voice in a powerful way?
I can start. So I've talked about debate a lot, but it's a big part of my life. So, in the debate space, there's a lot of issues, and that's what our organization aims to tackle. But one thing that is really apparent is homophobia and just like a lot of hatred in the space among judges and the people competing. And so my debate partner and we ran a criticism. So we argued a criticism of the debate space and the homophobia that exists within it. And so during debate rounds, that is really challenging to speak up about something like that, especially in Arkansas, or just even if you don't know who your competitors are, you might not know who the judge is. But addressing that issue has a lot of benefits to not only your competitors, but to your judge to realize it is a problem in the first place. And the first step to tackling like any form of inequity is to just talk about it and make sure people know that it's an issue. Because like in a heteronormative space like debate or just basically any institution, a lot of people that like might not know it's an issue. And so it's really important to bring that up. And so that's just one experience I've had of speaking up about an injustice and seeing the benefits in a way, because like in the Arkansas debate sphere, I think there's been a lot more like togetherness since when I started freshman year to now, and just like uplifting of one another. So yeah.
I love that.
And I can piggyback off of that, since speech and debate also was like just the nature of speech and debate. You have to learn how to advocate for yourself and what you believe in. And you're like personally writing these speeches. At least I did more of the speech side of it. And so a lot of the sexism that I experienced was a little bit more subtle, in that it would be like little comments on judge ballots that were talking about everything except what I spent 10 minutes talking to them about. And so that could be really frustrating. But at the same time, I think those were also some of the instances where I felt most powerful, because like, no, they have these 10 minutes where they have to listen to what I'm speaking about. And I always picked things that were really close to me and I felt really passionately about. And so it was just every single round. I would always say like I get nervous before every single round, because I know that like I'm hoping it'll have an impact on the people that listen, even if it's one person in that room listening to me. So I think more than bigger experiences, a lot of those small conversations I've had either in a competition or even with people that I may disagree with in class, and just having conversations that way. I feel like those are the times where I feel my voice may have like the biggest impact on people listening.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am the oldest of biologically 3 boys, but I have a stepsister. But she's a lot younger than me, so it's not really as much as a connection, because me and my brothers are fairly close together. And it just kind of hit me really hard when they started going to middle school and junior high and started to have those conversations with their friends about like, what does it mean to be male? What does it mean to be female? What comes with just your societal gender role? And I've just tried to help them understand that it doesn't really work like that. And I really hope that I'm getting through their heads, but I'm probably not. And they're probably not listening to me. But it's fine, because someday, maybe someday, I don't know.
I'll tell you the same thing I tell my friends who are moms, which is those messages will stick. And when they least expect it, they'll pop out in their brains and be like, oh man, Lauren told me that. No, she told me that. Ruby, did you have something you were going to say? Do you have a thought?
I obviously haven't done anything like debate or anything like that, so I don't feel like I've done anything big. But as you're saying, simple stuff like just in a classroom, just simple stuff like that, that even though it might not impact that many people, the people that you are talking to, it can make a big difference in just the way they view something or like an idea of something. I think just some more simple stuff like that.
No, yeah. And like, I don't know about you all, but I feel like anytime I'm arguing, just differences in opinion, a lot of times they sometimes get just as uncomfortable as I am. And so I think that's part of it, is making people question why they feel some way about the role of like girls and boys in school or whatever the conversation may be around. Like that discomfort is still doing something, whether they are going to straight up say, oh, I believe you 100% and flip what they were thinking beforehand. Like just that conversation goes such a long way.
So kind of to flip things the other direction, are there times when you have tried to speak up or thought about speaking up and maybe didn't, or you did and it didn't go as planned? Because I think it's really important for all of our audience members to hear both sides of this, right? Because discovering your voice, we all know, means taking risks. And when we take risks, it can go either way, right? And there's value in both success and less successful experiences. But can we be real for a minute, maybe with our audience, and share with them some of the ugly, dark side?
Yeah, so it's definitely in my mind, I'm trying to pinpoint one particular moment, but generally speaking, I find it a lot of sexism in school with young males that either have no female role model in their life or I've definitely talked to boys who have had a father who was very males and females roles are separate and women cook and men work and that's just how it is. And people whose beliefs or what they've been told their whole lives are so set in stone in school, it's really hard to say something because in school, throughout your whole life in the district, unless you move, you're with these people forever. Like I've known some of my classmates since we could barely talk. And it is kind of awkward and scary to say something because you know you're going to have to see them tomorrow. And you're going to have to keep fighting this battle. And you just want it to be over with so you don't have to continue to stand up for something that you believe is just common knowledge. So I've definitely seen it in school a lot with younger males.
Yes, I absolutely agree with what you were saying. And I have experienced a lot of the same thing where, you know, I've been going to school with these people for years. And at this point, like, especially it seems like in English classes and history classes, the political ideas, but I don't even think they're political, just talking about like human rights issues. And growing up in Arkansas and like people having these really like set in stone ideas of things. And then when you challenge that idea, and you might like, usually I'm one of the only person in the class that is challenging them or asking like, why do you think that way? It creates a lot of tension. And as Priya said this earlier, like being uncomfortable is good, and that challenges people. And like the whole entire class might be uncomfortable and I'm thinking of my AP US history class, like there was always so much tension, but I think that tension really challenged a lot of people and like challenged what their ideals were. And like being real here, a lot of those boys in that class really don't like me, but I think like intellectually challenging some of their ideas like outweighs the benefit of them thinking I'm like they call me hysterical or whatever. Like I think that outweighs. And so, you know, their minds probably isn't like changed, but I think the impact of other people in the room is like the benefit.
And just to that reminded me a lot of just simple peer pressure, because some boys might believe the same as we do, but don't want to be disowned by the males or the females, the group that they run with, simply because of that discomfort and that fear that if you will leave the group you're currently with, if you're going to find someone else to not even sit with at lunch, but hang out with, to talk to just generally be around. And it's really scary hopping friend groups like that, because there's this middle part where you honestly just don't have a home.
Yeah, another kind of aspect of when the idea of discomfort, and then also when things don't go as planned. So all of junior, senior year, and even now freshman year of college is so many applications. It's like advocating for yourself and showing your voice on paper is a huge part of this, like just the process of being a student. And so I failed so many times in that like department of not getting an application where I had like poured my heart and soul out onto paper and said, here's my voice, here's how I found it, and here's why I want this opportunity. And getting like a no back from a person I've never met before, like it can be really tough. And so that's definitely been a struggle with, it's kind of deterred me sometimes where I'm like, oh, I didn't get it before. Why should I apply to other things? Or why should I advocate for myself in other spaces? And so I think that that has definitely been a challenge and something that I've learned from. But then I think what helped get me through it is just learning that failure is 100% part of the process, and nobody in the world is going through it without failing at one point, many points in their life. And so I took each failure as, okay, learn from it what you can, address the issues of maybe you didn't get that position for a reason and it wasn't because you weren't qualified, and then move on, and you take that with you and go in stride into the next opportunity, and just never be afraid that because of past experiences, you're not going to be like, your voice doesn't need to be heard, you know, in other spaces. And so that was something I definitely learned and was very challenging to figure out. And so I definitely empathize with people who maybe feel that their voice isn't heard or isn't worth being heard if they've had similar experiences.
Especially in the workforce. So I know a few of you are old enough to have jobs and old enough to be in that situation of just like anticipating for college applications or workforce or something not as like monumental, I guess you could say. And I hear a lot about sexism in the workforce, and women are supposed to do this and men are supposed to do that. And it's, our generation is really crashing through that barrier. And it's really scary for the older people that don't have the same mindset.
Yeah, going back to what y'all were saying earlier about being like in the same school district with the same people, I feel like school is the place where I can speak up the most because we're there for so long, like most of our day. But whenever I think about it, I was thinking like, would I be more likely to speak up with my friends or like people that I've been going to school with, but I don't really know? And I was reflecting, and I really don't think I would be likely. I'd be like the same with both of them, because even if you aren't friends with those people, like you just have known them, you know that you'll continue to be with them, and you don't want to mess anything up or like ruin the chance to become friends with them. And with your friends, I know like friends who have different religious beliefs or things like that, and I don't want to ruin our friendship by saying something that like they might have taken offensively just because I believed in it. That's something like I definitely think holds me back.
So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. Why do you guys think it's important for girls and women to discover their voices and to learn to speak up? And what do you think that the world is missing when we don't step up?
It is scientifically proven that women and men's brains simply just work different. There is different neurological pathways. We are able to see more colors. There's so many different things that simply because of our hormones and how we are built make us different. So if you are cutting out half of a whole, then you're missing out on all of what that half could be in. There's so many different things that you could have ruined by cutting women out. And also, like, women are vital for repopulation. So I feel like disowning them would be a bad idea for the future.
So I'm taking a class this semester called Global Feminisms. And so I've gotten to hear from a lot of amazingly powerful women from our past across the globe who advocated for women's rights, especially like 18th century time when like there was very little of that discourse happening at the time. And I read one particular short story that really stuck with me. And it's called Sultana's Dream. And it's this short story of a girl. She's from Calcutta in India, and she has this dream of a world where gender roles are completely reversed. And so the men stay home, they do the cooking, cleaning, taking care of kids, and then the women are in powerful positions running the world. And there was like a very clear description of what the world could be like. I just thought similarly to the question asking, what can women offer the world? It just was really powerful in that in like the 1900s, this woman was talking about like solar power and how to utilize all these renewable energy sources, and had all these amazing inventions. And at that time, she was saying, like, if only women could get educated, these are all the things that are out there for them to create for the world. And so that's what that reminded me of. And again, going back to how each person's voice is different and their perspective and experience is different. Of course, everyone is going to offer different things to the table. And so it just doesn't make sense to me to leave certain voices out, because you're just missing out on that many more solutions, ideas, like brilliant things that could be offered. So that's kind of what I thought about.
That reminds me of, do we have any Twilight fans in here? Definitely a Twilight fan. I don't know if it's just me, but I've read the books and watched the movies and everything. But there's Twilight, and then there's Life and Death, which is the same scenario of events, but the gender roles are switched. So the girl saves the guy. And there's this really great podcast called Gender Forking. And fork is from forks. And they pretty much, it's two college-age women who talk about the reverse roles. And one really interesting thing I took from that was that they don't, or Stephanie Meyer, the author, she doesn't switch Charlie, Bella's dad, with her mom. So instead of having like a crazy harebrained father figure, they wanted the mother to stay the crazy one and the father to be the stereotypical like rock in the relationship instead of switching it. And I've thought that was really interesting. And they're super feminist. It's a really interesting podcast. It's on Spotify. I completely suggest it.
I just wanted to say that, like, I kind of touched on this earlier, but there, like, in times of injustice, or like when you're thinking, oh, should I speak up against like this problem of inequity? Like, no one else is coming to do it for you. Like, no one else is coming to save you or try to like fix the issue that's at hand, like sexism or whatever. And so that's why, like, it's up to you to do it, because no one else is going to do it. And the impact that can have, it can like impact the whole room. It can impact the person. Like, if it's like a more micro like situation, it can affect that person. And so speaking up is always beneficial in like literally every every situation it could be, because no one else is going to do it. And like for me personally, like my voice and speaking up, the end goal is to try to like create more equality, or to just educate people to like stop the hatred or stop the inequality that is going on. And so the benefits of it is that it's going to benefit someone and that no one else is going to do it. So yeah, that's just what I like wanted to say, is that it's up to you. And so like take that as motivation, that like no, like in every situation, if you're at school, if you're at home, your religious group, sports, whatever you're in, that you're the person there to speak out. And so speak out whenever it like comes time.
I love that. So Anna kind of transitioned us into our last question, which is the last question we always ask on our All Girls Considered podcast, which is, what advice do you have, we would say for our listeners, but in this case for our audience listeners, what advice do you girls have for them as they're thinking about their voices and they're considering what this might look like for them in their own journeys?
The first thing that comes to my mind is a bunch of cliches, and I always kind of like cringe a little when someone's like, we were talking about this earlier, like share your voice and all of these things, simply because I kind of feel a bit undermined when people say that, because they're not really showing how truly difficult it is to share your opinion, because it's so scary, and humans are taught to fear. We're taught to run the other direction. So you're defying your senses when you're doing that. So my only advice would be is to just do what you think you should do, regardless of what other people think you should do, regardless of the rules, in some case, of the current gender roles in your situation. What do you think you would do? What would the best version of you do? And do that.
Yeah, and kind of touching on being scared that you're going to be wrong. I think that should never hold you back from saying something. And I've definitely been like battling this myself, just like as I learn new information, I have to rethink what I thought before. Like, was I even correct in believing that thing? And so I've done a lot of that myself and just reflection, but I don't think it should stop me from speaking up on what I do know right now. And if that changes, that changes. Like, I think it shouldn't be that once you get a voice, or you can't change it all and you can't learn to adapt what you believe. Like, I think that's definitely something that's fluid over time and changes as you grow and learn more. And so I think for anyone who maybe is scared that what they're saying is wrong, like, so what? Okay, you're wrong in that one situation. You learn and you grow. Like, that just makes you an even better, more well-informed person. And so I'd say, like, anytime you feel strongly about something, feel uncomfortable about something, speak up, say something, anything. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable and scary. It always is, but it's so worth it. And I think that it's part of a process of learning and growing.
Yeah, I think some advice I have, and just something in general that I've taken away from this, is even though if you're scared, you still need to be able to just take a leap of faith and just have courage, because even though if you don't say anything, people are going to miss out on your side, like your perspective, and then you're always going to regret never saying anything, because you could keep something amazing from happening just because you were too scared to say something.
Well,
wait, I have
ahead.
I have a couple pieces of advice. So first thing is, I just wanted to say is, like, broaden your friend group, or broaden the people you're around. If all of your friends look the same, if all your friends have similar like socioeconomic backgrounds, or like upraising and all of that, I think it's really important that you branch out of that group. The greatest thing that happened to me in high school is meeting so many people that have so many different perspectives and ideas. And like, I just really encourage all of you to make friends with everyone. And that's the way that you're going to learn the most. And then also I just wanted to talk about, like, we've talked about success a little bit, and I think this conference is going to talk about like female leadership and success a lot. And something that I've been struggling with in my senior year of high school, and I think most women struggle with, is comparing your successes to others, or comparing you as a woman to other women and what they're doing and how like successful they are. And so my biggest piece of advice that like I can give anyone is to like, don't compare yourself to others. I know that's a lot harder said than done, but you're not them. You have a different perspective. You've grown up differently, and we can all like climb to the top. We can all be successful. It's not mutually exclusive for one person. And like, girls support girls, the quote, like, that's so true. And you should support other people's successes and like not be jealous of them, and just uplift other people. So that's just my little advice. I have lots of other advice, but that's all I'll say for today.
Well, I just appreciate you girls so much. I am incredibly grateful for this time that we've gotten to spend together. And just to show everybody, I have a whole page of notes that I've taken here. Because like Priya said, we don't ever want to be stuck, right? We want to keep learning and evolving and growing. And that's my favorite thing about the work that I get to do in the classroom, and also kind of in an extracurricular space with All Girls Considered, getting to hang out with people like you who are just incredible at different places on your journeys as far as finding your voice and learning what that means. And I think that's so valuable for all of the conference participants to get to hear from too. So first of all, just thank you. You are incredible. I have loved getting to talk to you. So I am going to tell our audience a little bit. I'm going to transition to screen sharing so they can see some information about the organizations that we represent here today. So there we go. So the Loud Women community, Priya and Anna talked about that a little bit. They were the founders of that. It is a nonprofit that's dedicated to empowering girls to take action to address issues of inequity, to encourage girls to build confidence through speech and debate, provide tools for inclusive education, and inspire leadership. Loud Women offers virtual youth debate forum workshops every other Monday. And their goal is to teach 5th through 8th graders the basics of argumentation to increase equity in the debate sphere. So you can sign up for that on their website, which you can see there on your screen. Their website also features articles from empowering female leaders, blog posts from regional ambassadors, debate resources, and the Loud Women Speaker Series, where they interviewed top professors and educators in Arkansas. So if you have any questions, if you're curious about the Loud Women community, you can jot down or take a little snap of their website there and get more information. And then the other organization you've heard me mention a couple times is All Girls Considered. And at All Girls Considered, we are on a mission to put girls at the center of every story in our community. Girls engage with diverse stories in imaginative ways to envision something new. We believe that when girls decide how their stories are told, that it creates important shifts and gives them agency to determine their future, and that their future is now. AGC is going virtual this year, so all girls can truly be a part of the work that we are doing. We'll kick off our year next week on September 29th and October 1st. That's Tuesday and Thursday next week. And we'll be focusing on a campaign called Girls Vote in October, where we learn about voting, listen to stories of women running for office across the country, and learn how to advocate for women's voices in this space ahead of the election in November. So if you're interested in All Girls Considered, you can visit our website, www.allgirlsconsidered.org, and you can register to attend one of our welcome sessions next week. We have been delighted to be here with you today, and I hope that the conference is just a learning experience for everyone and a chance to broaden our thoughts on a variety of topics, including women's voices. So this is Miss Nutt signing off.
My name is Candace Kozark. I'm Director of Events and Development for Bike NWA and also the Oztrails brand manager. I moved here 4 years ago from North Texas, and I came for the trails.
I think women bring a different perspective, especially in the cycling realm. Historically, it's a male-dominated area, and we have brought a different perspective by really looking at what cycling is about. It's not just going big and going hard. It's about getting everyone out there, building community around it, and just having fun with it. So when you put women in places to make decisions like that, you bring a totally different perspective, especially when it's a male-dominated area. So it brings a little bit more empathy. It brings a little bit more communication often. So I think that's important to changing the path in different areas like cycling. I think we should all lean a little harder into the hard conversations, into the hard situations. And so if no feels uncomfortable, maybe stop and analyze why that is. If yes is easy and no is uncomfortable, maybe there's a reason you should be saying no. Intentionality is going to be key in what we do put back into our life, because otherwise you're just filling it up with more junk. I think we all learned over the last 6 to 9 months that there was a lot of junk in our life that we didn't need. And so now as we go forward with this into the next year, we've got to be intentional with what you put back in.
I am Katie Howe, and I live in Bentonville. I work for Walton Enterprises as their community affairs manager. So for me, I wake up every morning and I tell myself that I can do the things that I'm challenged with. I think it's really easy to get caught up, let fear drive you in your work, just to recognize that that's fear and that you are capable of accomplishing great things. And for me, I have a huge support system. My whole team is right there behind me, and we're all locking arms together and pushing forward and trying to solve problems together. And I think having a supportive team is key. Arkansas is home for me. I grew up in Fort Smith and then attended the University of Arkansas and then worked in Bentonville before moving away to a big city. And as I continued to grow up and pursue a career in public policy, I realized that the gridlock and the partisan nature of national politics wasn't exactly what I was interested in anymore. And it really made sense to me when I worked for 7-Eleven on their government affairs team and started working on local issues and realized that there's a lot of change being made daily on the local level that we don't see and we don't hear about. And so for me, that was like the moment that I realized that local, nonpartisan policy was what I was really interested in, because those are the issues that are driving the economy here in Northwest Arkansas. And I think it's really important for women, but not just women, for everyone to get involved in the political process. And that starts with registering to vote. Shameless plug, you should register to vote by October 5th. But by registering to vote, you are exercising your right and your voice in your own community. And a lot of the local races and issues get pushed aside, or they don't make the headlines, but they're really the ones that are affecting you the most. And I think the best way to get involved is A, to vote, but secondly is to get to know your elected officials and to also look at boards and commissions where you have an opportunity to serve, be it Parks and Recreation or the Public Art Committee. Like, there's something for everyone, and I think that that's the best way to get involved in your community.
Welcome everyone. My name is Julie and I'm with Yoga Story. And today we're going to do just a quick little energizing breathing and flowing exercise to get you going. So in yoga, we talk about our breath and marrying our breath with our body and keeping that connection going. And oftentimes during the day, we forget about our breath. We don't focus on our breathing. We were not aware of what's going on in our bodies. So yoga helps us with that. So during the day, it's a good idea to get up and stretch a little bit, pay attention to your breath, and do some intentional movement. So we're going to start today by standing. So if you'll stand at the top of your mat, the top of your space if you don't have a mat, and just root your feet into the earth. Open up your palms. Start to lift the chest up and draw the shoulder blades down the back. And And then start stacking your knees over your ankles, your hips over your knees, your shoulders over your hips. And just staying nice and tall, reaching up through the crown of your head. So imagine your spine is nice and long. Charge your fingers by spreading them. Lift your thighs up off of your kneecaps by pressing into the floor. And we're going to start with what is called easy breath. So I just want you to breathe in and out through your nose. Take a nice deep inhale in. Keeping the mouth closed, exhale. Good. Do that again. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Now this time when you inhale, I want you to fill up a little bit more. So take your inhale in deeper, a little bit more, and then exhale completely and pull your belly in towards your spine as you exhale. Good, do that again. Inhale, fill up, and then exhale, pull the belly in towards the spine. Now let's add some movement with the breath. So arms are shining forward here. Inhale, bring the arms overhead, look up at your thumbs, and then exhale, bring the arms down to your side. Do that again. Inhale, bring the arms overhead. Feel the sides of your body getting nice and long, and then exhale, release your hands. One more time. Inhale, reach up, look up, and then exhale, releasing your hands. Now take your head in a neutral position and just drop your chin towards your chest. And then roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Breathe in, mouth stays closed, and then exhale, roll the chin through the center, and then inhale, coming up to the left side, left ear to left shoulder. Keep the shoulders away from the ears, and then exhale, come back through center. Let's come over to that right side again. Breathe in, and then exhale, coming back through center. And then inhale, traveling over to the left. Breathe in, and then exhale, coming back through center. Inhale to lift the chin up, and then lift the shoulders up, and then send them down your back. Yeah, lift your heart forward. Do that again. Inhale, lift the shoulders up, and then send the shoulders down the back. Good. Now open up your feet a little bit more. Take your right hand up to the sky. Breathe in, and then exhale. Press down through your feet and just reach over to the left side of your body. So your left hand is just sliding down your leg. Press into your right foot. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, release your arm. Inhale, the left arm comes up. Exhale, reaching over to your right. Good. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, releasing. Do that again. Inhale, right arm reaches. Exhale, and side bend. Come back through center as you inhale. Exhale, release. Inhale, left arm reaches. Exhale, side bend. Full exhale. Now a full inhale as you travel up, and then exhale, release your arms by your side. Coming back to that extended mountain pose, bring your feet underneath your hips. Inhale, bring the arms overhead, and then I want you to bend your knees and start reaching your arms forward, away from your tailbone, and then bend your knees really deeply here. Grab your elbows and just hang side to side, sway back and forth, just letting your head go. So this is called ragdoll. You should feel a deep stretch in the back of your legs. Spine is getting nice and long here. Maybe some blood flow coming into the head, which is okay. Keep pressing through your feet. And then release your hands to your shins and lift your chest up so that you're extending your spine. Take your hands to your lower back and then inhale as you travel up, support your lower back. And then draw your elbows together, bring those shoulder blades together behind you and lift your chest up to the sky. Breathe in and then exhale, breathe out. Inhale, take the arms overhead. And then exhale, take the hands behind the back. This time I want you to interlace your fingers. And then just straighten the elbows. Bend those knees again like we did before. And then coming forward, your chest is coming down towards your knees. And then just lifting your hands off of your low back. Again, relaxing your head. Yeah, and just not going too deep with this one. Just releasing the shoulders. And keep breathing. Nice, steady inhales and exhales in and out through the nose. And then inhale as you travel up. Press down through your feet to make that action happen. And then inhale, breathe in. Arms come overhead. And then exhale, taking the arms forward. Take your right arm and cross it underneath your left arm. See if you can bring your palms together and bring your elbows up. And then press your elbows away from your chest. So you might feel a little stretch through the shoulders. This should feel really good if you've been doing a lot of sitting today. Take one more breath here and then exhale. Just release those arms. Inhale, take the arms up again. Nice range of motion. And then exhale, bring the hands forward. Take your left arm under the right, bend your elbows, bring your hands together. Lift the elbows up, press your hands away from your face. Breathe in, breathe out. Good, one more time. Breathe in and breathe out. Releasing your hands, walk your feet together. Inhale as you bring the arms up. Exhale to forward fold. Remember the nice deep bend in the knees. And then bring your hands to your shin. Take an inhale and lift your heart forward. Press your hands down to the earth. And then step back into what's called a downward facing dog. So it's like an upside down V position. Spread your hands. Root your feet into the earth. It doesn't matter if your heels are touching the floor or not. Just stay relaxed in your head. Keep your shoulders away from your ears. Press your hands into the earth. Take a deep breath in here and exhale to let it go. Do that again. Inhale deeply. Exhale to let it go. And then very carefully just start walking your feet up to your hands, and again, the knees can be bent. Root those feet down into the earth, hands to the waist, inhale as you come up. And then let's open up to the side here. So I want you to take your left foot forward and then turn your right foot in slightly. So you have some space between your legs. Press evenly through both feet. Take the arms out to the side, breathe in, and then exhale. Tip your hips towards your right foot and start to reach your left hand down the leg. This is called triangle pose. And then open up your chest towards the sky. You can just rest your hand here on your shin. Press both feet into the earth. Take a deep breath in. Exhale completely. Breathe in. Exhale completely. Good. Inhale as you travel up, and then exhale. Go ahead and bend the left knee, your front knee, and finding this is called Warrior Two. So press through your front heel. Keep your arms wide and open so you have lots of space to breathe. Good. One more breath here. And then exhale, straighten, and just switch sides here. So just turn the left toes in, the right toes out. Press both feet into the earth. Carve your hips to the left, and then reaching the right arm over and down for triangle on this side. And just breathing in and out through the nose. So the thing about yoga is the breath And the focus is the most important thing in your practice. You're just making shapes with the body. And everybody's shapes look different, and that's fine. You're just focusing on your breath in and out through your nose. Inhale as you travel up, and let's go into warrior two. So bending the right knee and finding your warrior two. So again, stay broad across the shoulders here, hands reaching away from each other. Breathe in, breathe out. Good, one more time, breathe in and breathe out. Go ahead and straighten your front leg and then turn the toes back in towards the center of your mat, and then just walk the heels back into the center. Have a step up to the front of your space. And let's find tree pose. So I want you to stand on your right foot, pick up your left foot, and then just kickstand it with the toes down and the ankle on the shin. Or if you'd like to try some balance work, bring the foot up to the calf, or go ahead and bring the foot up to the inner thigh. Just staying away from the knee here. Finding something to focus on as you breathe. Rooting down through your right foot. Stay long in the spine. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, releasing. We'll go to the other side now, standing on your left foot, and then rotate the knee out, your right knee out. You can kickstand again, find the shin, or coming up into a full tree pose. Do what works for you. Find your balance point that works for you. Everybody's different. Obviously, I'm having a little trouble on this side for some reason. My foot keeps sliding. My goodness, I'm just going to do this. Here we go. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. Breathe in and breathe out. One more breath here. Breathe in and release. Coming to the top of your space. Bring your feet together. Inhale, bring the arms up. Exhale into a forward fold. Step back into that downward facing dog, the upside down V shape with your body. So press through your hands. Start moving your heels towards the earth. Breathe in, breathe out. Take one more breath in, and then exhale, coming down to your knees and then having a seat on your bottom. So just sitting in what we call easy pose, crossing the legs in front of you. Take the right hand, reach it up. And then take that right hand and place it on the left knee and just very gently start to twist your body to the left. So your left hand comes around behind you and your head's the last thing to follow. Take a deep breath in this twist. Exhale to let it go. Bringing your head back to center and then coming out of your twist. Inhale, the left arm reaches up, and then exhale, left hand on the right knee. Walk the right hand back. Exhale as you make your twist. Stay long in the spine. Imagine the crown of your head moving up towards the sky. Breathe in, and then exhale, coming back to center. Resting your hands on your knees, flipping the palms up. Relax your shoulders away from the ears. Shutting down the eyes. Mouth is closed. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can open your eyes now. Wiggle your fingers. Inhale, take your arms overhead. One final inhale, and then exhale. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.
Hi everyone, my name is Cristina Frias. I'm so honored to be here with you today, and I thank you for welcoming me into your conference. I am recording this from Los Angeles, California, and I'm just so excited, like I said, to be able to speak to you about my work, my career, and how my identity, my personal identity as a theater artist, educator, activist, has really afforded me the freedom to voice my authentic self and live out my dreams. Before I begin, I just want to share that I need glasses to read, and I realize there's a little bit of a glare, but just want to say hello without the glasses and connect with you to the best of my ability in the virtual world, and then put them back on because I have to read. I will be reading excerpts from plays I've performed in. I'll be reading you a little bit about my personal bio and my family background, and then hopefully later we'll get a chance to have a Q&A, okay? Here we go. So this is a synopsis of my bio. I am an award-winning Latina, Mexican-American actor, educator, and storyteller, born and raised in Los Angeles. I have an MFA, a Master's of Fine Arts in Acting from the California Institute of the Arts, CalArts, a bachelor's degree in sociology from UC Berkeley. I have a certificate from the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art from studying Shakespeare during a summer intensive. And I did a one-year study abroad program in Madrid, Spain, through the University of St. Louis. I'm known for work that I did in an Audible original series called Talking While Female. It was created by a theater company, Teatro Luna, and I had an opportunity to write an original piece with several other Latinas speaking about a story that was important to me. If you are able to go on to Audible, you'll be able to hear my story and many other voices as well. I performed in a play called Real Women Have Curves by Josefina Lopez. You may have seen the movie. It was the big breakout film for America Ferrera, who is now in Superstore and was in Ugly Betty. So that was a big breakout film for her, and I got to do the play and play the lead role. So that was really fun. I've done many, many plays all over Los Angeles. I've been able to travel throughout the United States. I've done Shakespeare with Shakespeare Center, LA, the Independent Shakespeare Company. I've done television, commercial, film, web series. Some of the shows I've done you may recognize: The Young and the Restless on CBS, Animal Kingdom on TNT, One Day at a Time on Netflix, lots of commercials, and I play the lead in 2 original web series, Funny Brown People and The Couch. Some of my other performances include theater work with the acclaimed comedy trio Culture Clash, the San Francisco Mime Troupe, Cornerstone Theater Company, and many others. And I've had the great privilege of performing at the Walt Disney Concert Hall here in Los Angeles. It's just a stunning, beautiful building designed by the architect, Frank Gehry. I've performed and created solo work and toured plays throughout the U.S. as well as internationally. I am a founding member of the seminal San Francisco company, the Latina Theater Lab, a proud member of Hero Theater Company, the Latinx Theater Alliance, and SAG-AFTRA AEA Actor Unions. Go Unions, I'm a union girl. this last fall, 2019, I was the first Latina faculty to be hired full-time at East Los Angeles College in the theater arts department. Very proud of that, and incredibly honored and excited to serve the community that I grew up with. And I am 3 semesters in, so you can imagine for me the big shift that we all have had since the pandemic started. So I'm still adjusting, but getting used to virtual teaching and engaging with students really inspires me to keep going, and I look forward to when we all get to be in person again. I've taught at different colleges throughout California and mainly LA, including UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, the AMDA College and Conservatory for the Arts, CalArts, where I got my MFA, LA Mission College, and guest artist talks all over the place as well. I am the recipient of several Artists in Residence Awards from the Department of Cultural Affairs. I am a recipient of the Cultural Center Investing Artist Grant, a selected participant in the prestigious Fornes Playwriting Workshop, and a nominee for the Buettner Award for Excellence in the Arts. And that's a lot, but I gotta say, I've earned it. And I don't say this to be in any way arrogant, but looking back on my life now and looking at all the challenges and the times that I fell down and got back up, I think, wow, I persevered. I found my light again. I took a deep breath like I'm going to right now, and I invite you to take a breath with me. I do this a lot in the theater with my students, with fellow actors, and it's a way for me to kind of just reset and reconnect with my spirit. So I invite you to join me. On the count of 3, we will inhale and exhale. 1, 2, 3, and exhale. One more time, and exhale. Okay, so I do that because, as I was saying, I just read this bio, right? And it seems like I've done a lot of amazing things, and I have. But between a lot of those amazing things, there were a lot of difficult days, and days I didn't know if I can continue pursuing my dream of what at one point was being only an actor. There were days I couldn't pay rent. There were days I wasn't sure where my next meal was going to come from. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I say that because life is not a direct path. It's not A to B to C or 1 + 2 = 3. It's a winding road. And so today I want to share with you a little bit about my journey, and hopefully you will find something in my story that you connect to. But I really want to always return to this theme of what it means to step into your light, step into your authentic voice, and celebrate your unique identity. I often tell my students, you are extraordinary. There's no one else like you in the whole wide world. And I mean that. Genetically speaking, when you think about your DNA, it is scientifically proven there is no one like you in the whole wide world. So you're this extraordinary human being, and I want you to take that in, to breathe that in right now, to really own this idea that you are unique and you are original, and there is no one like you in the whole wide world. And I learned that very gradually. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20. I wish I knew what I did now. Then it would have saved me a lot of heartache. But you know, that's life. We keep going. We keep getting up each morning and greeting the day as a brand new opportunity to do our best. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit about my family background, because that really, for me, has been the foundation of who I am in the world. So here I go. I was born in West Covina, which is in the San Gabriel Valley, east of Los Angeles, located about 19 miles from downtown LA. My father, his name is Edmundo Jesus Frias. He just turned 90 years old this past May. He was born in El Paso, Texas, on the border with Mexico. His parents, Rosa and Jesus, came from northern Mexico, Chihuahua y Durango, to be exact. In the beginning of the 20th century, El Paso was the main gateway for many Mexican immigrants crossing the Rio Grande into the United States, and that's where my grandparents settled. My father and his brother Samuel were born in El Paso. Jesus, my Mexican grandfather, worked as a butcher, and as far as we know, Rosa was a typist. I never knew my grandparents, mis abuelos, or had reasons to visit them in Mexico because they had already divorced, abandoned their children, and died by the time I was born. It was a tumultuous time for many Mexicans living on the border in the 1930s. It was the Depression years. My father's grandmother essentially rescued him and my uncle, Sam, and drove west through the desert during the Great Depression and brought them to Boyle Heights in LA, which at the time had the largest Mexican American population of the United States. I always had this longing to connect to my Mexican American heritage, to understand my grandparents. And it is through writing and performance that I am able to explore those lost relationships. So this is really, really important, that creativity and the arts made a huge impact on my life and gave me space to reach back in time and reclaim and reconnect these very important relationships in my personal history. I want to share a little bit about my mother. She was born in Pasadena to a father with French Basque heritage. His mother, my maternal grandmother, came over from France through Ellis Island and was a cook for one of the historic LA families, the Brunswicks. Her father was a busboy at a very popular French restaurant in LA called Tay's in the 1940s. And up until very recently, it was still going strong. My maternal great-grandmother was named Marianne Brock. She left her home in a poor farming village in France in 1895. She was only 24 when she boarded a boat at the port city of Bordeaux to travel across the Atlantic to New York City. When she arrived at Ellis Island, a wealthy French immigrant, Lucien Brunswick, was there to hire her to work as the cook for his family. Mr. Brunswick, a French immigrant himself, had settled in LA years earlier, where he founded the Brunswick Drug Company. My mother remembers visiting the Brunswick mansion as a little girl and sitting on a stool in the back kitchen and watching her grandmother cook French meals for the Brunswick family. The Brunswick building was transformed in 2011 and is now the home to La Plaza de Culturas y Artes in downtown LA. It's a beautiful museum that celebrates Mexican American history. I have two older sisters. One is a graduate of UCLA's political science department and a fifth grade teacher. And my other sister, Roxanne, graduated from UC Santa Barbara in Spanish and has a master's in communications from Stanford. Susie, the one who went to UCLA, she just got her master's at Cal State Fullerton in education. My sisters were my role models and continue to be my role models. I was very, very lucky to be the youngest of three siblings because I grew up in a family that didn't have the opportunity to go to college. My mother never went to college. She didn't have that opportunity. However, she does love to read and she's very curious about the world. My father is a Korean War veteran, and when he came back from the war, he was able to go back to school and started at East LA College, where I'm now teaching. Him and my mom got married rather young, and because they were raising us, he couldn't go back to college right away to finish his bachelor's, but he finally did and got his bachelor's at the age of 50 from Cal State LA. So when I say that life is a winding road, my family are the perfect examples. My parents never in a million years thought that they would be able to afford a home living in the suburbs of Los Angeles or put 3 daughters through college, and let alone dream of their daughters, each one having a master's degree. Now, when I talk about my older sisters, I bring them up because I think it's really important we all have mentors in the world. Now, these mentors, in the ideal world, you want them to be people you have access to. So for you, it might be that special teacher you really admire and connect to. Maybe it's the English teacher. Maybe it's the debate teacher. Maybe it's that special auntie or uncle or a sibling or a cousin. Maybe they aren't even aware how much they inspire or impact you. And that's okay. But guess what? You get to assign mentors throughout your life. And I say that because throughout our life, we need advice. We need someone that can listen to us, that we can take out for coffee, that we can have a virtual Zoom date with and say, hey, I have this idea. Can you give me some feedback? Or I'm thinking about going back to college. These are my ideas. This is the research I did. Can you give me your advice? This is so important because sometimes we are not aware that those opportunities and those people are available to us and would be more than willing to give us some of their time. In my case, I had sisters, so I didn't have to go too far from the house, but I saw them go to college. I saw them study. I saw them travel. So by the time I'm coming up in the world, I was like, oh, I'm going to college. I'm going to go live in Spain, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go there. And I had a lot of confidence about all the things I was going to do. I'm going to take a moment here because I have hair in my eye. I'm being honest. So I was very thankful. And I just wanted to offer that up to you because I know you're, at a time in your lives where you're probably thinking about the future. We're living in this really crazy time, a time that I know for a lot of people can make you anxious, scared, fearful. And I just want to assure you that, 1, you're not alone. And 2, you're part of a global community. I repeat, you are part of a global community that is all going through the same exact experience. We're all quarantined at home. Many of us are remote learning or remote teaching, having to wear masks, having to be responsible citizens. And so that connects us. Even though we're far apart from each other and isolated a lot of the time, we're still connected in this human experience. So hopefully in this conference today and in your individual school communities, there are resources for you and opportunities for you to continue to meet online in virtual spaces so that you can tap into your tribe, the people that can lift you up, that can make you feel better and remind you you're not alone, okay? And we're going to get to the other side of this. I'm going to keep sharing here. And I want to share now an excerpt of a play that I did. It's called Black Butterfly, Jaguar Girls, and Other Superheroes Like Me. I had the great fortune of doing this play when I moved back from the Bay Area and I started doing professional theater. This was my first union job with the regional theater community. So that meant I got paid and it was great. We got to perform on a big main stage theater, but we also got to tour to the Kennedy Center and the Smithsonian. what was very special about this particular play, speaking about identity, is that it was written by 3 Latina women of different generations from East Los Angeles College. Do you see the connection here? It's like a spiral. It's a spiral. Little did my father know at age 22, as a young man studying at East LA College, he would have a daughter all these years later, right, doing plays about that community and then working in that community. So I had an opportunity to do this play, and it was a coming-of-age story about 5 young Latina women growing up and dealing with issues at home, dealing with violence, dealing with broken homes, dealing with alcoholism. And the one central character was dreaming about her life and if her life had value. So I want to share with you an excerpt from that play. Today, my teacher told us that we have to write about our life. Write about it? Is she crazy? We're not even famous. Me or the kids in my class, none of us. We're not rich. What are we going to write about? My teacher told us that writing is what makes the memories real, or something like that. She said something about remembering that I forgot already. She keeps bugging me and bugging me. So one night, I sleep on the sofa, get out my pen, and I just start making poems about this everyday life my teacher thinks is worth remembering. I start writing like I'm walking, one word in front of the other. And once I get started, it's like I don't want to stop. Can I show some of this to you? Thank you. So that's a little monologue from the play Black Butterfly, and you could already hear the poetry, right? And so through the course of the play, this young woman starts to find her voice and become a writer. And I feel like that's what my career has been about. Finding my voice, returning to my roots, celebrating my heritage and not being ashamed of it, but using it as a way to say, oh, look at me. I am unique. I am original. And I have a story to tell. And my family has a story to tell. And my neighborhood has a story to tell. And for me, that's what the beauty of the arts has been. Again, it's given me a space to express those stories, to meet other people like me who come from a similar background and make plays and collaborate together. So I want to talk to you a little bit about a collaboration I had when I went away to UC Berkeley. Now, I know that's a really important university and one of the top in the world. I was not the best student. I was a well-rounded student. So in high school, I played sports. I was in the drama club. I volunteered at the Rotary International. I was very social. I didn't have a lot of academic discipline, but what they were looking for at that time were well-rounded students. Of course, they were looking for the really smart students who got the SAT like 100%, scores. But it was a time during equal opportunity and affirmative action. So people like me had a chance. So I got into UC Berkeley, but guess what? My first year I was lost. And this is one of those moments where I had to fall on my face to realize what was going to pass me by unless I changed my ways. So imagine being an 18-year-old going from a small private Catholic school of about 500 students, all girl, and suddenly being flung into a public university of about 35,000 at the time and living alone for the first time in my life away from my parents. Now, of course, I was like, let's party. And of course, it was amazing because, like I said, I'm social. We were near San Francisco, and we would go out and explore, and everything was brand new, and cafe culture was a new thing, and going to get cafe lattes, and everything was cool. Unfortunately, I did not have the academic discipline to survive that first year, and I got put on academic probation, and I couldn't get my grades up, and was let go. So that summer was hard, confronting my parents and having to really tell them the truth, and to see their disappointment was one of the biggest pains I've had. You all know what it's like when someone that really loves you looks at you and with those eyes, like, how could you let me down after everything we did, the hard work? How could you let me down? So my dad said, we are not going to accept this. We're going to write letters, and we're going to get you back in. That's how much he believed in me. And that's all I needed to say, okay, I can do this. And so I was able to get a letter of recommendation from like one of the classes I did okay in, a letter of recommendation, I think from like a counselor. He wrote one, and then I may have had, I don't know, maybe an employer. I got an opportunity to meet with the dean of the College of Letters and Science at UC Berkeley. And he was like, wow, look at all these letters. These people believe in you. But what can you commit to? That's not enough. How do I know if I let you back into this school and let you take someone else's place, basically? How do I know you are going to succeed? And so I had to take a big, deep breath and be honest. And I said, I wasn't prepared for this. But since being let go, I've done research and found out there's academic support groups. There's tutorials available to me. There's study groups. And I need that to succeed. I also need to enroll in classes that are more in alignment with who I am. And that's who I was discovering at the time. The first semester, I think I had late enrollment, so I got all these science classes and physical anthropology and astronomy and linguistics, and it was way over my head, and I couldn't find myself in that. And so he said, okay, I'm going to accept you based on these conditions. You have to get an A/B average, or I'm going to let you go. Well, guess what? I got straight A's that year, pretty close to it. I discovered Chicano studies. I discovered that I loved theater and started taking things more in the humanities, liberal arts that were more in alignment with my interests. So that was the beginning of me really starting to step into my voice. Taking Chicano studies gave me the opportunity to read literature, read plays, read poetry about my personal heritage. So Chicano, if you don't know, is a term that became popular right around the time of the Civil Rights Movement. You had the Black Power movement, and then you had the Chicano movement. And a Chicano is someone who was a descendant of Mexican parents. So basically, first generation Mexican American who identified as Chicano tended to be somewhat involved in the movement, had a political consciousness, was definitely fighting for the rights of the Latino culture. And in LA, it was very strongly Mexican American. Young people that were marching to fight for better working conditions, better education. You may, if you know LA history, there were the famous 1968 walkouts. that high school students organized in protest of what they felt were poor educational resources and unequal education. So there's a really rich history in Los Angeles, which I love, and in East LA that is very much part of the civil rights movement, which is very much part of social protest. And I come from a background of theater for social justice. So I learned all about this, at UC Berkeley. I took Chicano studies, and I'm like, wait, there's plays written about my history, my community, my family, and all these light bulbs started going off. And I thought, wow, why didn't I learn about this in high school and junior high? Why am I learning about this now? My life would have been so different if I had been exposed to the literature that reflected the narrative of my people. So that was a big awakening for me. And honestly, that is when I decided to become an actor, a storyteller, a theater artist, because I connected so deeply with what I was studying. And I joined a group. We were a student organized group called Teatro Califas, and we started writing sketches about our own Chicano identities, Latino identities. And, we weren't just Mexican Americans. There were people that were from El Salvador, Argentina, really under the full spectrum of Latin American heritage. And it was so exciting because while we had a shared experience, we also had very unique points of view. And we would meet after school, and we'd talk about ideas, and we'd write little sketches and perform them all around campus. And that was incredible. It was an incredible time for me. This is what I want to share. Almost 20 years later, 25 years maybe, my friend who was in that group with me, Teatro Califas at Berkeley, was the chair at UCLA's Chicano Studies Department. So a chair means he was like the boss man, and was in a position to invite me to lecture about my career as a Latina theater artist. And that opportunity led to teaching as a lecturer a Chicano Studies Teatro course, which I still do a couple times a year as a guest lecturer at UCLA. So again, the circles, the seeds that are planted today, you don't know how they will grow and where it will take you. I can tell you this: show up as your best self every day. And that is hard. I know it is really hard to show up as your best self when you're not feeling it, when it's been a rough time. Maybe you're feeling down. Maybe something happened. I try to start, like I said, from that place of breath, and start from one thing that I'm thankful for. And I'm telling you, it could be as simple as, I'm thankful for this pencil. Usually it's a little more deep than that, but sometimes it's like, I'm thankful I can hear those birds outside my window today. I'm thankful I have shelter. I'm thankful I can speak to you in this moment right now, and I can see my computer screen, and I'm imagining I'm seeing hundreds and hundreds of brilliant, young, beautiful women that are smiling back at me. That gets me through a difficult day. So again, I'm offering this to you because I've been on a long, winding road, and I know that things come back around if you keep showing up. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep showing up for each other. Remain curious. Remain adventurous. Ask questions. Ask questions. You deserve the best possible education that any institution can offer. Read books. Take breaks from social media. Take walks. Exercise. Back to the basics, that helps me a lot. I'm not sure where I am with time right now, so I'm going to keep going through and talk about another opportunity that I had to collaborate with other young women, other Latinas that, again, were coming from a similar place as me. So Teatro Califas was an undergraduate collaboration. And then I went out into the world, and I went into San Francisco and got an apartment, and, I was auditioning for lots of plays and working in teeny tiny theaters and working in big outdoor theaters. And during the day I had a full-time job, actually. I had a full-time job at a company called Volt Services Group. It was my first corporate job, and I was the temporary employment assistant. And I'd interview all my artist friends and get them a job to be a secretary for a day or answer the phones for a day. And I was able to pay my rent. And then at night, I was constantly rehearsing in the theater. So it was a busy time. I was a lot younger, so I had a lot of energy to do that. But it was a great time. And I was growing and learning and everything. It was a great time to be in San Francisco. It was before the dot-com explosion of the internet and all the technological Silicon Valley, companies. It was just before that. So I could live for $400 a month, imagine. And it was a great time. And then there was a notice for a company called Latina Theater Lab. And they were looking for all Latinas to audition. And again, to be part of a collective creating work for and by Latina women. It was the first and only all-Latina collective of writers, performers, and directors in the U.S. in the 90s. And we dealt with pop culture, immigration, cross-cultural identities, and the complexities of being Latina, what that meant. Our purpose was to create theater that would go beyond the ever-shrinking and limited range of roles for which Latina actresses were being considered. So we played all different kinds of characters that weren't available to us in the mainstream theater. We played in our own theater. And it was so empowering, so transformative, because once again, we were able to use our identity as our superpower. America Ferrera from Ugly Betty, again, talks about that idea. And I think it's so powerful. Your identity is your superpower. It's not an obstacle. Though sometimes you may feel like you are the other or you are the only one, take that deep breath and know that one day your identity will be your superpower. And I want you to celebrate that, and I want you to believe that, okay? So that was another opportunity that once again reinforced this idea. Cristina, you have a voice. You're a storyteller, you're a performer. So trust that. And I did, and I kept going. And I got to travel the world. I got to go to Latin America and do a theater festival with the San Francisco Mime Troupe. I got to go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, their month-long theater festival in August, which was amazing. I got to perform in France. I got to go to East Africa and study the Rwandan genocide, something very deep and tragic. However, theater was the bridge for me to meet a whole other culture and learn about a whole other history I didn't know about. That was graduate school. So I got to go to graduate school. I applied after I moved back to LA and was looking for more opportunity to kind of expand my horizons. I wasn't getting as much acting work when I moved to LA. I thought, now I'm going to move to LA and I'll be the next J-Lo. Wrong. Because guess what? I am not J-Lo. There's only one J-Lo. I'm Cristina Frias. So it took me a while to find, where do I fit in the Hollywood world? And it was the 2008 recession, kind of like what's going on now. And I thought, I got to go back to school. I need another degree. I need something to give me more security. I knew I loved teaching, but I knew I needed a higher degree to teach at the college level. So I had an opportunity to audition for the Institute of Cal Arts, got accepted, and that was the next chapter of my life. Everything changed once I got my master's. That program was incredible. I fell in love with acting all over again. I got to study with like-minded people, voice, speech, movement, meet international artists, which was really something I loved, and came back out into the world ready to go. And it was hard, but I just kept, auditioning, and people started calling me for teaching jobs at colleges. One thing led to another, and now here I am. I have a full-time teaching job. I just auditioned today for Superstore. I continue to work as an actor. I get to be in touch with young people. I get to be a mentor. I get to be a role model, which for me, at the end of the day, is the meaning of all of this, is I get to give back. Because what's the point of life if I can't give back? What's the point of all the work and education if I am not giving back? So today, I hope that this talk for you had some inspiration, that something I said resonated with you, that we get to meet at some other time, some other place, and really meet person to person. I want to close with an original piece that I wrote, and this was after traveling to Peru, and I was inspired to write something about my life. So let me see, I'm going to put this up on my big screen. And do I need my glasses? Yeah, I'm going to leave my glasses on, sorry, and read it from here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do a little movement. I'm traveling in Peru, destined to reach Machu Picchu, the ancient peak. Was it a sacred spiritual site? The birthplace of the Incan Empire? Recent research had revealed it was probably an estate for the Incan elite, a sort of 15th century Camp David. I was excited to begin my adventure to Machu Picchu, located in the Cusco region of Peru. But first, I was seduced by the Museo de Oro in Lima, the Gold Museum. It was there, as I wandered around examining gold, silver, ceramic artifacts, that I saw the Chimu, Chancay, Nazca, Mochicha, Chimu, Chancay, Nazca, Mochicha. And I came face to face with an artifact dating back to 200 AD with my name above it, Frias. There was El Tesoro de Frias, a treasure. Una bolsa de Frias, a bag. Depiladores de Frias, a shaver. I ran from room to room to room, and then I saw it. Un mapa de Frias, a whole region dedicated to the pre-Incan cultura of Frias. Until then, I'd only seen my name in advertisements like Cervezas Frias. I was a Chicana, man. Pura Chicana, Californiana, Franco-Católica, Mexicana, Americana. Si se puede, si se puede, si se puede. Égalité, fraternité, liberté. Was all this an illusion? Was I one more time forced to construct, reconstruct, deconstruct a whole new identity? Could this chica be linked to an Inca? Was I a Chincanica? Okay, so there you go. I wanted to offer up something that's unique and original to my journey, my story, my identity as my superpower, and invite all of you to step into your light, to celebrate your unique voice, and embrace your authenticity and your originality. I wish you the best of luck. Consider me your mentor, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone! I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves today, and I know you've learned something new that will enhance your youth leadership skills. I wish to congratulate the organizers and presenters for this successful event and for making youth an integral part of the leadership discussion. I would also like to applaud all the young leaders present today. You can be proud of what has brought you here, your passion and commitment to create a better community, and your leadership motivating others to do the same. But always remember, it's your ability to listen to each other and to collaborate that makes any of this possible. While many talk about young people as the future and the next generation, that assertion often overlooks the remarkable ability and talent you represent now. And that's what today's event has been all about. I know the world can learn from you by listening to your voice and perspective on key issues that uniquely affect your generation and beyond. You should all be proud to be called a young leader, and I know you're going to be part of something big for common humanity. I hope you will keep this commitment and pick up the momentum as you lead today. To all the young people listening to this video, I hope today has made you even more excited and passionate to be a young leader. I encourage you to maintain this momentum and continue connecting with others. Be willing to listen and learn and support each other. Be a leader that sets the example and is present in solutions to problems no one else has the courage to take on. I cannot wait to see what comes from this group of young leaders. You are the proprietors of your own foresight and engagement to being part of a solution. I count on your leadership and strong commitment to work together and make our community the best it can be. Thank you all for attending the Rising Leaders Conference. I wish and commend each and every one of you the very best in all of your future leadership endeavors.